name is Elizabeth Carter. I want to tell you a little story, an awful experience I've had. I was living with my father. It was one summer morning, one Saturday morning. I got up, I was feeling good. So I got out of bed, I was ready to go to the park. The park's not far from my house at all. So I was walking outside, I walked to the street, I looked both ways, and crossed the street. Alright, did some stretches, and then I started running. I ran around the football field for a while. Finally, I was done. I felt so good. I walked back home. I went upstairs. Looked. I walked home. I walked to the street, looked both ways, and walked back to my house. I saw my dad. He was sitting outside on the porch, swinging, and just watching the cars as they go by. So Dad, he stopped swinging and he asked me, "Do you mind moving the car for me?" I was like, "Yeah." So I run in the house, I get the keys, I walk back out to the car. I get in my dad's car, close the door, start the engine, I put it in reverse, and I'm ready. So all I really needed to do was just go in reverse and park it around the side. But I love driving, so I decided I was going to take a little detour. So I drove to a red light, waited, went to a green light, or it changed to green. I went to another red light, I waited, changed back to green, and then I took a little right hand turn. And then what happened? Of course, I hit a parked car. I started sweating. I was like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I put the car in reverse and I hit the car behind me. There was a car behind me and I hit them. The woman gets out of the car. She's screaming and she's shouting at me. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? So the car behind me, the lady went in reverse and then flew past me. So I pulled over to the side and I checked the other car and Dad's car to make sure that there was nothing wrong. There were minor scratches. So I walked back into Dad's car and I left. All of a sudden I hear the police and see the sirens. I hear the sirens and I see the police lights. So I pull over to the side. It was a black police officer. He got out of the car. He walked up and I'm looking in my rearview mirror like, he starts talking to me and I'm like, I'm deaf, I can't hear. He was like, where's your certificate? Where's your paper? I was like, I don't have that with me. It's at home. My house is just around the corner. So he says, I'll follow you. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do when I get back home? Dad's going to find out. So the police officer, I was so worried about the sirens and the lights, but luckily he turned off the lights. So we circled the corner and he cut the lights back on. I parked the car and Dad was pissed. So I start sweating again. I'm like, oh. So the cop started talking to my dad, and he was like, yeah, that's my daughter. She doesn't have a license, he asked her. What's up with that? My my daughter recently got her driver's license, and I just asked her to move the car to the side of the house for me. That's why it's my fault. I'm sorry. So the police officer, he was like, oh, okay. Make sure next time your daughter brings her driver's license with her. It's required. is required to be with her at all times. So I stopped stressing out so much. And I was astonished that the police officer didn't say anything about the accident. Then I realized the police officer never saw me hit the other car. So the police officer, he leaves, and Dad, he tells me, it's my fault. I should have told you to grab your driver's license. You need to have them anytime you're driving the car. And that's my story, my accident story of the awful experience I've had.